Hey everyone, and welcome to another Plotty Time Minisode. This week, again, you just got me, Poppascotch, and I wanted to talk about a topic that recently came up in games. I'm actually recording this. It's not going to release till the end of November, after Thanksgiving, but I'm recording it on November 9th. So some of the things I say may not look great at the end of this, because it's very possible we could not even be a country. So, if I say a lot of bad things about capitalism and it turns out that only the American loyalists who love capitalism are allowed to survive, I recant all my statements. Sure, why not? I didn't mean any of it. So, this week, the news already is about a week old, so it's going to be like over a month old by the time you hear this, but I wouldn't say a very prominent, a person in the gaming industry, a man by the name of Alex Hutchinson put out a tweet. He said, and I'm quoting here, "The real truth is the streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the games they stream. They should be buying a license, like any real business, and paying for the content they use." He's one of the creative directors at Google Stadia. So the question comes down, and it's something I want to talk about and just get into, and just put my 2 cents to the ring. There's been a billion takes by now. There'll probably be a billion more by the time this released. But I wanted to give my perspective because I think there's truth to both sides of the argument. But it's really hard for me to develop with a big, ugly corporation. And I'll tell you why. First of all, this is an extremely stupid take. As it stands right now, saying that streamers should be paying to be allowed to use the content they stream is a terrible take. It is a very, very short-sighted, stupid take. And it's made even worse because Mr. Hutchinson is part of the corporate game development industry. Now, that being said, this should be taken as a harbinger of what's going to happen. Because I guarantee, my predictions are that people will at some point have to pay licensing fees, or it might even go further. I will get to that closer to the end of this. But we'll start real at the base level by talking about the tone of this. The whole tone of this is wrong. The way he says it, the way he's phrased it, he high roads everyone. And he words it in a way that he believes that streamers are stealing the developers' hard work and making money off it. And that's the part that really, I think, set everyone off. It wasn't so much what he said or the hot take. It was that he said it like an asshole. So not only is it a dumb take, but he sounds like a jerk. Now, someone getting high-roading you is never a good place to start your argument from. But it got even worse when Google, his, I suppose, employer, the person who signs his checks, came out and said, yeah, these are his opinions and not necessarily the opinions of Google's, which is the ultimate. We didn't fucking say that. That was this guy, even though the fact he's a creative director at Google Stadia, not the creative director or senior creative director or VP of creative direction or anything like that. So don't think for a second that he speaks for all of Google, so especially Stadia or their gaming divisions or any of that shit. Now, to start, I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt because it's such a stupid take, but I can understand where this is coming from because ultimately this is why copyright laws exist, right? Like, you're a creative type. I'm taking it as a micro level of just a single person, but you take a single person and we'll do it with music. They create a song. They get the instruments. They play the instruments. They put the whole track together with the editing software. They get it on YouTube and put it out there, and what if the song becomes a hit and the person who owns it gets all the rights? Now, I'm gonna come back to this example, but the point of copyright laws is to make it so that person who created the content owns it and then has the legal right to say if someone can use it or not, and if they do use it, then they have the legal right to say, hey, you need to pay me, throw a little bit this way. This is a extremely common thing that happens. I come back to music because I feel like they're the same thing, and I'll get to that too. But this comes back to the fact that if someone, records a song and a movie wants to use it, what they will do, if it's not the same studio, like I know Sony has a music branch, they also have a movie branch, so they kind of just cannibalize off themselves. I guess that's not really the great word, but you understand that if someone releases a record with Sony Music Entertainment and then Spider-Man Return from Home decides to, add a song to the movie, they can just look at this huge Sony catalog and say, well, take whatever you want. It's free for us. Like, if you want to go outside of that, we'll talk about money, but it's free. Otherwise, you'd have to pay a licensing fee to be able to play that song. And what that is it's a monetary fee you pay to the person or the corporation who owns the music, and that gives you the license to use it in your film or whatever. That's what he's talking about, that since gamers are making money off the developers' hard work and sweat, that they should have to pay for the a streaming license or something like that in order to get official permission to do that. Now, the interesting thing about all of this is that the entire streaming industry pretty much lives and dies by the fact that it is not legally I don't want to say possible, but the default here is that the developers and people, publishers, own the game, and if someone were to take it and resell it, yeah, they'd have a legal problem, but streamers are like a gray area. They basically say, yeah, these laws exist, and yeah, we can totally ding you for using our stuff, but we're not going to. The thing I want to bring up is that's for now. Now, you have some EULAs from some companies that say, hey, you're allowed to stream it, you're allowed to make videos with it, you're allowed to essentially make advertisements, which is exactly what all this is. But a lot of the other EULAs, the way they are written is that if developers wanted to right now, they could send out lawyers and say, you're not allowed to do this, send down takedown notices, make people stop streaming their games if they really, really wanted to. Now, the example was movies pay licensing fees. They pay it for songs, they pay it for products, content. Anytime you see something that's branded in a movie, that has either been paid for to get the license, or the company is paying the movie studio to put it in their movie as an advertisement. And I mean anytime. And I really want you guys to think about that next time you watch a movie or a TV show. Anytime someone's wearing Nikes and you see the swoosh. Anytime someone walks by a Coke machine, those companies paid for that spot. It's something else you might really not even notice. This is even outside of the entertainment world. But grocery stores, I mean, they sign with companies to have a X amount of shelf space for X amount of product for X amount of company. I mean, like Nabisco has signed, they've signed contracts to say we want X number of shelf space and we want that for our product and we want it in the fucking snack aisle or whatever. There's very little out there when you see a product that it has not been paid or thought of to put it exactly where it is. Which is a whole thing about advertising that I do have a huge problem with, but that, maybe that's a thing for another day. So what I want to get to about this take is apparently the big thing that Mr. Hutchinson doesn't understand is that these are ads. The streamers playing your games are all advertisements. This should be treated as advertising revenue, quote unquote, lost by not receiving a licensing fee. Now, when you talk about advertisements and the ways video games advertise, and this is true with any kind of advertisement, but the point is to get the product, to get the thing, get the whatever in front of people's eyes so they see it. If they're not going to see the movie, they're not going to play the game, they're not going to buy the cookies if they don't even know it exists. So that's step one, is getting people in front of it and making them aware. Brand awareness. This is a term that I'm sure everyone's heard. The point is to get people to get their eyes on it and get hyped about it and then buy it. So this right now, so far just what I've mentioned, streamers, yeah, they're getting paid, but I guarantee the game studio is making far more off streamers than they're letting on. Look at the one that everyone's using right now is Among Us, which was out for 2 years. No one gave a shit about it. Some prominent streamers started playing it, and it blew up. And I'm sure they sold thousands, if not millions, of more copies of the game because of this explosion into the cultural conversation. I mean, you just had AOC playing it, for Christ's sake. Like, they're not going to go to AOC and be like, hey, you kind of owe us a little bit of cash for that. So fuck them. The question is, are they losing money? No, they're not losing any money on this. If anything, they're making shitloads more of money. So in this relationship, like, you get your product in front of people so they can be aware of it. Now, you could also make the argument from a developer standpoint that, some people are going to not buy the game. And the reason for not buying the game is, why would I buy it and play it if I just watched my favorite streamer do it for the last 3 weeks? And that's a valid question. But I would counter with, this is advertising. So if you have a Super Bowl ad, the highest visibility place to put a television ad in the United States any year, and you spend $8 million or whatever the fuck it is, and you put a movie trailer in the thing for this huge summer blockbuster. This is not an uncommon thing that movie studios do. They do it all the time. So the point is, you may get it in front of the eyes of 500 million people. Is it reasonable to expect that every person in that 500 million range is going to go see your movie? No. The point of advertising is to get it in front of people so they know it exists, they get hyped, and then eventually they actually buy it. So this argument kind of falls apart pretty quick, because so this is like saying you're sharing a movie trailer and now people don't need to see the movie, and that is what you are basing your argument on, which is silly. It's stupid and it's wrong, and it really doesn't make sense from an advertising or business point of view. Now, why? Why does it not make sense from a business point of view? Because you'll be attacking the people who love your game, and the people who are looking at your game, and the people who are falling in love with your game, and the people who are going to buy your game. So from a business perspective, it's pretty bad to piss those people off, especially with something you don't need to do. Like, you don't need to shut down online servers because it's not monetarily feasible anymore, pissing off a bunch of people. You can let streaming happen and keep reaping the benefits. This is a very symbiotic relationship. It's a term everyone uses. It's also a negative PR thing. So it's a bad for business, monetarily speaking. You're getting less people to look at your game. It's bad for PR because you're going to piss off all the people that love the game. Now, this is the thing. What I want to talk about and really focus on is, what is the future? What is the future of streaming? What is the future of developing and streamers? What is the future of this relationship? My theory, and this might be another hot take, is that the streaming community, like it exists right now, is going to end. I don't have a timeline for that. I don't have a guess. I guess technically all things end, so it's not a hot take. But how is it going to end? That is what I want to get into. My theory is that more people in the corporate world are going to start thinking and talking like this Hutchinson guy. People are going to be like, yeah, you know what? I did bust my ass making this game, staying away from my family and my fucking kids, and I deserve to get more money because some streamers making $200 million on they're not probably making $200 million, but they're making a lot. They're making millions of dollars. And I get that. I understand that thing, but then at the same time, you don't get pissed at your boss because the company just spent $4 million in advertising. The point of all this is, the future is that at some point, developers, people who make games, are going to be pissed because they feel they're not making as much money as they should. So what are they going to do? What's the next best thing? My theory is that eventually these video game studios, these developers, are just going to directly hire streamers, put them on payroll, and give them money to stream just their game. This is still a very desirable option for people because they'll get paid to play games. But instead of a personality making all the money themselves, then whomever can decide, hey, we're just going to give you $4 million contract. You stream this game for X number of hours, and then we're good. That's definitely going to happen. Game studios are going to hire streamers. They're going to put them on the payroll. They're going to take the lion's share of the money that's actually generated. The idea then would be that the only real monetary value in streaming would be from the people who are professional streamers, and then the ad revenue and full bore product placements and whatever that other streamer is hawking, that whatever gaming company. I just want to say EA because it just feels like this is going to be an EA move, but I'm not saying they will. I have no inside information. I'm just guessing, but you could see it too, right? Yeah. So the idea is eventually the game studios will just monopolize and take over the streaming industry, and it's going to be entirely turned advertisements. That's what's going to happen. That's my guess of what's going to happen. I mean, at this point, you could still have smaller developers that are just throwing their games out and say, hey, anyone can stream it. You know, we'll love the free press, whatever. which is great. And people will fall in love with a small company, and the game will become huge. And then they'll turn around and say, well, now we're paying people to stream. This is all what I guess is going to happen. The only thing you can really do as a streamer, as a consumer, as a person, is to basically say, we need a real legal ruling. We need a law. We need something on the books that says streamers are allowed to operate as they are right now. That there need to be EULA changes that say, hey, if you want to stream it, fucking knock yourself out. And, well, some kind of legal protection for the streamer, because right now it is entirely on good faith of the corporations. And as we all know from the last, 30 fucking years of America, that the goodwill of the corporations will run out, and it will make as much money as you possibly can right now. That's just how it is. It's what happens when a company goes public and they have shareholders to make happy. It's what happens when they want to drive up the price of stock. It is just part of capitalism. So I will tell you the one prediction, the most confident prediction I have, is that America, at least America, I can't speak for every country, obviously, but America will never pass a law stopping a corporation from making money, and in turn have the government sign with like the little guy in this case. It's not going to happen. The America is bought and owned. This is capitalism, baby. Like, you have enough money, you make the laws. That's just how our world works right now. The only thing stopping them from blanket making things legal is public outrage. The idea is we're supposed to have elected officials who we trust, and if we don't like, we can just vote out of office. But now there's so much misinformation that any scumbag looks like an angel. It's just how our morals and ethics, I mean, you get on a high horse politically and talk down to anybody, but morals and ethics in capitalism, they don't matter anymore. All that matters is making money. That is the American way right now. Make money, get paid, and it's a goddamn shame. So, I don't want to leave you on a down note, because that's a fucking bummer, because that's a dark future for streaming, is that the corporations own, operate, and run all of it, and the little guy who just wants to make a living playing video games is not going to happen anymore. That's a bummer, and it really sucks. So, let's get back to the take. It's a bad take, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes down to one very important thing that these developers, well, at least Mr. Hutchinson, but possibly other developers, do not understand. And the thing that they don't understand is people are not watching the streams for your game. They are watching it for the streamer. Fucking Ninja can go out there and play Legacy of Kain 1 on PlayStation 1, and he'll still get millions of viewers. That is because it's a good personality. It doesn't really matter to them what game they're playing. Now, to be fair, some of the big streamers get paid to play certain games and they get paid handsomely for that. So that's the big streamers. Those are probably, I mean, I don't know. I don't watch any streamers, but I'm sure they get paid to play the specific games. And honestly, if you look at the way this is going, they should be getting paid by every developer. I think the opposite is true, that developers should not get paid a license. They should have to pay streamers part of the ad. It's part of the money they're now making because of the free ad revenue that was just generated. A big problem too, like we just saw Quibi fail completely, terribly. You listened to that in a previous episode where we discussed it. But one of the big things Quibi didn't want to do is they didn't want people taking screenshots, sharing content, clipping video together, and putting it on Instagram or Facebook. And they actually, came up with legal challenges when people tried to do that. And it was so fucking stupid because they didn't advertise, and they could have had the people advertise for them for free. What if someone famous who has millions of followers was like, dude, I just saw this show. It was on Quibi. It was fucking great. Go check it out. That could be possibly millions of people going to your thing to see what it's about. Getting eyes to you, which is advertising, like I said. But that's pretty much all I have to say. It's a bad business decision. It's a bad PR decision right now. In the future, since this is, America's a capitalist society, it will be exploited and run into the ground. That's just how everything works. Or it will be completely controlled by the corporations, and then they'll pretend like, oh, no, we really appreciate the indies and all this bullshit. Don't believe them. Don't believe their lies. So is it a huge bummer? Sure. But you know what? Enjoy streaming as it is now. And if some corporation, a big one, decides to buy streamers, put them on the payroll, and then control what they play all the time and how much money they make, and try to really basically hijack the streaming industry, it's your job as a consumer to say, I'm not taking this. I'm not going to watch. So then you have the first person who did this massive streamer. I don't know, anybody. It doesn't matter. Just pretend there's a massive streamer that signs with EA or Activision or God knows who else, Ubisoft, doesn't matter. They sign with them. They're getting paid to just play their games. They are a shill for just this company. They only say good stuffs about it. They're probably not allowed to do the full aspect of their personality. It's our job as consumers to say no and stop watching. So that's a lot. I feel like I went into a lot about this. This is probably old news by now, so I don't know why you're still here listening. But if you are and you want to hear more shit like this, head on over to YouTube. Like and subscribe over there. That really helps us out. You could watch our logo as you listen to stuff like this. If you found it on YouTube, thanks. While you're here, like and subscribe. That'd be dope. You could also send us emails, playtime@gmail.com. We have a 100% response rate. We'll reply to everything. Even if it's super inflammatory, we'll say thanks for listening. We just love hearing anything. And if you want to get to us faster on the socials, @PlottyTime on Instagram and Twitter. Mr. Hutchinson, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on as a guest to explain your side of the story. And other than that, I guess we'll talk to you next time. Peace.